Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to some more games courtesy of yours truly. And in today's video I have a trio of six, a trio of six, that's not how maths works, a trio of tier 6 games for you in a couple of machines that I think it would be fair to say are not well loved. The video is called The Good, the Bad and the Ugly because to my mind of these three games, one is good, one is bad and one is ugly, but I'm going to leave it to you delightful individuals to work out which is which. So without further ado, we are kicking off proceedings in the Skoda T40. This is the tier 6 Czechoslovakian premium medium tank. Hello ELC. So why isn't this thing very well loved? Well, it has a gun. Right, so this is an 88mm gun, 140 something alpha damage, 140 something penetration. I haven't had enough sleep today. 220 alpha damage. It's basically the same gun that you get on the mid-tier German tanks. You know, like the Flat Panzer, for example. It's a gun that I actually quite like. That doesn't mean it is perfect. It definitely has problems, but I actually kind of like the gun. On this tank, so the problem is, whilst I quite like the gun, as I say, it's not perfect, and when you look at the other qualities of this tank, it's huge. If you ever compare the size of this thing with other machines, like the Skoda is enormous. It's made of paper mache. It has a pathetic hit point pool. I mean, it's not slow, but it's not exactly super duper fast. The gun is really... Oh, and the gun depression is 5 degrees, I think. The gun is really the only selling point, and it's just not good enough to sell this machine. So I've waffled on for a bit because, frankly, this game takes a little bit to get going. Initially, I went over toward the hill. We're here on Tundra, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed. Initially, I was going to go over by the hill, but one, we didn't have that much over there. Two, if your gun depression is kind of sucky, then this kind of is awkward to play the hill. 5 degrees... If you can't get yourself up onto the top of the hill nice and early, 5 degrees isn't really enough. Ooh, SU, no, he backs off. So, you might have noticed a couple of moments ago that the scoreline was actually even. We were 2-2. But you might also have noticed we were at a fairly notable hit point deficit. Somewhere in the 1600 region, that hit point deficit is getting worse. And you might now have noticed that the kill deficit is starting to catch up. This is a tier 6 match. There's tier 6s and tier 5s, so no tier 4s to shoot at. So we are top tier, and so far in this game, apart from an early shot into that ELC, we've essentially done nothing. Now, eventually I'm going to reach a point where I come to the conclusion that I just need to be doing things. And, shot under the wreck, which doesn't connect. And honestly, it doesn't really matter if me doing things gets me damaged or killed at this point, is my conclusion. So I've come to the conclusion that I just need to start taking some risks, and I just need to get some damage down and get some kills in because our team is getting its face kicked in. So I finish off the artillery. So there's a kill. Hurrah. We've now got this SU-100. I am taking risks here, like I say, because we just need to get some damage in. The SU hits me, which, because my hit point pool is pathetic, shaves off a very large portion of my health, and then because of his stupid armour I actually bounce, but the reload on that tank is terrible, which means I can finish him off. So I've picked up 2 kills by taking some risks. Now, I've got AP loaded at the moment, and I'm going to take a shot at that VK. He's presenting himself, and at this point I kind of start wondering if this guy's AFK. Now, on the one hand, yeah, he's definitely AFK, so on the one hand you could look at that and go, well, am I really benefiting my team here? On the other hand, these are relatively risk-free shots that I can take. And that guy, later on could still end up spotting us or something like that. So in this particular instance, I think those shots were worth taking. Nashorn here, and you can see I've loaded high explosive for the honour, so these HE rounds should penetrate him without too much difficulty. The nice thing about having a large caliber gun, I take another hit there. As I say, I'm having to take risks. One more shot to finish him off. He fires, misses, and he is done. And suddenly we're actually winning this game. 10-9, and we've got a small hit point lead. Trying to take on the Stug, but I really don't want to die at this point. There goes the Stug, there goes the M10, and suddenly this match is looking a lot better, but it's not over. So, by taking some risks, and you see my armour didn't do anything, but to be fair, the shots that hit me were from an SU-100Y and a Nashorn. I mean, you'd have to have some pretty decent armour to stand up to those sorts of guns. Now, let's have a bit of a look around. The one thing you may notice is that while we have quite a nice kill lead at this point, we're all rather beaten up. And our hit point lead is actually relatively slim. Essentially, we have 6 tanks that are all one-shots. When I say one-shots, I should be more specific. There's a Panzer 4H over there, who you have to assume is using the howitzer, so that's a nice big high-caliber gun. Ooh, nice shot into him, and ooh, he's almost dead. And then there's a P-43 up on the hill, and that guy packs a 90mm gun. Now, the Panzer is not actually dead, frustratingly. So, for those 2 tanks, you kind of have to assume we're all one-shots, and they're down to 200 hit points. Now, that means there are 15 hit points on that Panzer, and you'll notice we just lost a tank or 2. And the rest must be on the enemy P-43. Now, the enemy P-43 is the last one left alive. Can you see how this is going to go? So, the thought that's going through my mind is, he can one-shot us, and he's got the high ground. We have to go up to meet him. Oh dear, this could be a problem. And so my logic here is, well, let's just chill. If one of us is capping, he has to come to us. He can't just dither. We're forcing his hand. We could win this, essentially, by having 1 or 2 of us capping, and the rest just kind of keep him at bay. Force him to come down, and we should win this. Do you think my team are going to do that? What do you think? I'm trying to tell the team, like, be patient. Go together if you like. I'm not expecting to be able to convince these 2 tanks to not go after him, but I want them to go together rather than attacking one at a time. And to be fair, looks like they kind of do, sort of, but the P-43 is playing well. There goes our T-150, and there goes our M10, and suddenly it's little old me all left by my lonesome. But the enemy P-43 has 20 seconds left to win this game. Do we reckon he can do it? The Nashorn's suggesting that I prepare the lube. Well, 8 seconds. So I'm behind this rock. I can't see him, but in order for him to come and kill me, he doesn't have the time to faff. Essentially, he needs to come within proxy spotting range, and, well, he doesn't. So, there's game number 1. We almost lost it, then we almost won it, then we almost lost it again, and then we won it right at the end by capping. Cool, that's a nice way to start, I guess. Commiserations to the enemy P-43, because that's a Radley Walters medal, and he lost. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. So, that was actually enough for an ace tanker, fire for effect, fighter, sharpshooter, master gunner, bruiser, high caliber, and invader, as we managed to pull a win out at the end. It was a bit of an odd game, let's be honest, but, you know, it is what it is. 2,664 damage done, 4 kills, or 1,307 base experience. Shout out should go to Martin121. I'm going to ignore the X's in his T-150. 2,500 damage and 5 kills from him is a good result, even if he went down at the end. Commiserations to the enemy P-43 Raza9238. 8 kills, 2,100 damage himself. He played that game fairly well at the end, about as well as he could have been expected to when he was outnumbered 4-1. And he came close to winning that, but not close enough, so commiserations to you, my friend. 20 shots fired, hit 16 hits, 14 penetrations for that damage count. 2 hits received, my armor did nothing. 3 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 damaged, 4 destroyed. 295 assistance damage, all of the base capture points, and 2.73 kilometers traveled. And even with the standard account, that was good enough for a 41,500 credit profit. And there was an event going on at the time for tasty experience for my Czechoslovakian medium tank crew. So, hurrah. There was that. So that's game number 1. By all means, have a think about whether you think that was good, bad, or ugly. I would be curious to know about your thoughts. And we're going to move on to the second match. So, game number 2 then, and we move on to another tier 6 tank that people don't seem to be a huge fan of. This is the American Heavy, the M6. Now, in this case, I totally understand why people wouldn't like this thing. It's massive, it's hard to hide, the armor isn't actually that good, it's not super fast, and at first glance the gun doesn't look anything particularly special. However, in this case I am going to come out in defense of the tank a little bit. I think the reputation is a little bit undeserved. It's not a super duper amazing machine, but actually the gun, 160 pen and 240 alpha damage, whilst not particularly special for a tier 6 heavy, is, you know, it's decent, it's good enough. And actually, when you combine that with the rate of fire, the gun handling, I actually find this gun to be relatively comfortable to use, and perhaps it's helpful to think of this gun as a tier 6 tank destroyer gun, because this is of course the same 90mm weapon found on the M18 and on the M36, the 2 American tier 6 tank destroyers, and whilst on those tanks it is probably the worst or one of the worst tank destroyer guns at tier 6, because they are of course turreted machines, still found on a tank destroyer, and it's still a pretty punchy gun. So this is a tier 6 maximum match, again no tier 4s to shoot at, just tier 6 and tier 5. And we have come over to this flank. This is an assault game. We are defending, and we have found all of the friends. Top tier, so I really want to be doing some good work here. We take a HE round from an SU-85, who I suspect isn't actually using the 122mm gun, because his HE round only does 100 odd damage. Ooh, cheeky Chaffee has got behind me. So, I'm never going to get my tank really round in time for the armor to be successfully bouncing this guy, so what I'm really trying to do instead is just shoot him and, you know, not give him a broadside to shoot at. I take a few hits there, but he gets reduced to a one-shot in the process. Now, those of you who are paying attention to the minimap may have noticed that over here I'm all by my lonesome. Ooh, there's an IKV 103. And we've killed the SU-85, hurrah, but oh, okay. There are friends over here. Now, there are a couple of tanks some distance away from me. Ooh, the VK is using the howitzer, I think. No, he's not. No, he's not. Oh, and it's the sneaky Chaffee again. There are some tanks a wee way behind me who finally bounced something. There goes the Chaffee, who can provide some help, and indeed they do actually deal with that Chaffee there, but the assistance potential is a little limited, and I am trying to use my armour here, what armour there is on this tank, and actually we managed to bounce around there, and we can see that the average damage, we bounced a couple of rounds, the average damage from that VK was 110, which means he's not using the top gun. He's using the little pea shooter. Hello IKV, I give that guy far too much of my side armour. You'll notice that my driver's been down for a little while, but I'm going to reload before he is, and he becomes kill number 2, and suddenly most of the guys over here are not looking as alive as they once were. Having said that, I've taken one hell of a pasting. So, swings and roundabouts. VK behind me somewhere. We really don't want to get blapped by that guy. We also don't want to just get nuked by artillery. There's the VK looking the wrong way. Have a 90mm shell to the face. Now the VK actually gets a good slab of hit points at 1100. There we go, there's artillery, yippee-ki-yay, 66 and stuns me, but at least our shot still connects. Low damage roll, but that could easily have either bounced or missed entirely. That shot goes into our tracks because he's firing heat out of the howitzer. If he fired HE, I would probably be dead at this point. but he didn't, and I'm just rushing this guy down at this point because I think if I don't, he's got me. I managed to drink that shot, and he is done. M10 is now coming up for some surprise butt-loving, and then thinks better of it because we do actually manage to react in time. However, despite our best efforts over here, despite the fact that we've done just shy of 3,000 damage and got 3 kills, our team is wilting in the sun. We're over 4,000 hit points down and 6 kills. We're going to try and deal with this M10 who is not paying us the attention that he should be. He does finally decide to turn around and give us the time of day, but he's now at 1 shot, which really limits his options. I've lost artillery support, and oh dear, that's a T-50-2 who's coming up behind me. Right, so, turn around, shove my butt against a wall, prepare to kiss it goodbye, and pray to sweet England. There goes the T1 heavy, but the Stritzwang manages to deal with the T34. T50 flubs his shot. I get a low damage roll, however, which leaves the guy alive. And looking at the map, that M10 Wolverine is trying to use this as his opportunity to strike. And I die to a Stritzwang 74, who has yet to be spotted in the game. Sometimes you just get those matches where you look at it and you're like, what do I have to do? There's the Stritzwang, finally gets spotted as he closes in on our Stritzwang for the kill. You can see I get slightly frustrated in chat there. Yeah, like, a high damage roll, well not even high, a slightly less than terrible damage roll against that T50-2 would at least have kept me alive a little bit longer, but to be fair, the VK earlier on managed to put his shot into the dirt. I jinked it more by luck than judgment. I couldn't have known exactly when he was going to pull the trigger. I believe it was an intent to try and make him not hit me, so yay for me, but I still got a little bit lucky. Overall, I got some luck there. I got some bad luck as well, especially with the tomb, but it is what it is. Let's have a look at the post-game stats for this one. Yeah, so that one stung a bit. Ace Tanker, Fire for Effect, Master Gunner, Duelist, Bruiser, and a High Caliber Medal. We only got 3 kills. I mean, 3 is respectable, but considering the amount of damage we did, you could reasonably expect more than 3 kills. But we got 3 kills, and we did a good amount of damage. Like, we had a good go, you just can't win them all. 3,682 damage done. No one else on our team managed even 1,000 damage. 3 kills, 851 base experience. Yeah, that was a bit icky. To be fair, the friendly Stritzwang, who got 664 damage, came second on our team with 2 kills. He did at least have our back, and he ended up killing the Chaffee. And he might have killed someone else whilst trying to keep us alive. So credit where credit's due. There was no one on the enemy team that had a super duper spectacular game. I mean, the KV-1 clearly had a decent game, over 1,000 base XP. The T50-2 had a respectable game. No one had a super duper carry performance or anything. It was just one of those cases where everybody on the enemy team just did a little bit better than their corresponding player on the friendly team, with the exception of me, and I wasn't quite able to carry hard enough. I gave it a good go, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. 18 shots fired, 17 hits, 17 pens for that 3,682 damage. 13 hits received, 6 penned, 5 did not. Some splash damage in there as well that I received. 655 damage blocked by my armour. The armour doesn't usually hold out on that tank unless you keep it moving, which I did try to do. 5 enemy vehicles spotted, 7 damage, 3 destroyed, 193 assistance damage, 1.28 kilometers travelled, and a 32,000 credit profit. We gave it a good go. It's also probably worth mentioning that 851 experience is not including heroic resistance. When you whack that in as well, you're up to over 1,300. A quick game, a brutal game, a fun game, but a frustrating game. Now, I've got one more for you today. Last game then, and we are back in the M6, and you might have noticed the matchmaking is not as friendly this time. We've gone from a couple of top tier games to a tier 8 match, and not just a tier 8 match. This one actually has more tier 8s than usual. Yay! The other thing that's probably worth pointing out is the enemy team have a 53 TP. So do we, but more importantly the enemy do. And I say that because at the time of playing this game, I'd not really fought against one before. I don't have all that much time to play the game these days. And so what that means is when I do, there tends to have been some new dinky tonks added that I don't really know how to deal with. This is going to become important later on. But this game, okay, so obviously you're going to see this game from my perspective, but this game, it's not really about me. We'll have a speculative shot at him, because why the hell not? It's not really about me. It's more about, well, we'll get to what it's about when it happens. Are we going to have a punt? Let's have a punt. RB25 nails him. So, you might wonder what the hell I'm doing here, because I just appear to be faffing. There's a good reason for that. It's because I'm faffing. So, I'm really... So, bottom tier, in a tank that's approximately the size of Norway, and with side armour that I could add some water to and use to make some little sculptures out of. You have to play this really carefully, because otherwise you gon' die. Now, there is an upside to all this. There's no artillery in this match, which means I can use this position and abuse this position. This tank actually has pretty good gun handling, which I kind of alluded to in the previous game, and so you can peekaboo relatively well. You just have to be a little bit careful, because, ooh, hello, things can go wrong. So I have a very speculative shot there and just pull back. If there were artillery in this game, they would be drivelling, drooling and snotting all over my position, and it would be bad. Now, however, in this position, or in this situation, those enemy heavy tanks over there have pulled back, which means I'm the one that gets to pre-aim this corner, and they're the ones who have to, or who are potentially going to poke the corner. With any luck, I may even get to shoot some of them. Wouldn't that be nice? But once again, we're trying to play this carefully. We can't go and go face to face with some tier 8 and 7 heavy tanks. They are going to do what's generally referred to as, in technical language, wreck our face. Now, I do notice there's a cheeky little Stridsvagn trying to be a cheeky little Swede and come up behind us. And I'm not a huge fan of this development, so I'm trying to make myself useful and go and do something about the aforementioned Swedium. There we go, one shot into him. I'm going to reload before the KV2 is. Can we make this a kill? Yes, we can. There we go, making ourselves useful by taking out a flanking threat. Go me. HP-wise, we're a little bit down. Kill-wise, we're a little bit down. But, you know, we're still in this game, so that's fine. I'm just trying to be a little bit cautious, keep myself in the game, because while you're in it, you can always be useful. You have to be in it to win it. This is a bit optimistic, because that has to be a shot at a weak point with a gun whose accuracy is not super duper amazing. We bounce the guy's 17-pounder gun there, but this is definitely toward the dicey side. He's not currently looking at me, so I go for the aimed shot. We put one in. This guy will take one more shot into his weak spot in order to go away, but he does slap me about a little bit. The enemy KV2 has pushed forwards, and I don't really want to keep pushing out there. I've taken a 76mm shell in exchange for a 90mm shell into a higher tier tank. That's not a terrible trade. Go for the punt there on the AMX, but no dice. So, we're 2 kills down now, but the hit points are still not too far apart. We can definitely still win this and still do some good work, especially if the KV2 is going to ignore me in exchange for trying to kill our KV2, and I can hopefully get some more damage, but it's not quite good enough. So, AT-15A, I don't have a shot on him now, but these heavy tanks are now going to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, I do not want to get shot by that IS, so we're just going to pop out, and we're not even going to bother aiming. We're just going to launch 90mm shells in his general direction, because that's what American tanks are good at. Aiming is for the weak. We're just going to lob shells at you and see what happens. When you throw enough poop at the wall, some of it's going to stick. Now, our VK has decided to be a big man. He is a tier 8, but he might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. I mean, well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair to him, he's still alive, and the enemy SU is being a bit special, although he does pick up the kill. Can we put a shot into him? It'd be really awkward. Not really. Okay, so IS, hello me old mucker. Put another shot into him, which appears to track him, although the IS is like, no, I don't think so. Suddenly, we're actually a kill up, and we've got a small hit point advantage as well, our team that is. We've managed somewhere around 1300 damage, which when you're bottom tier like this, you know what, that's not too bad. We can work with that. Do I really want to take risks and engage that SU? I decide to have a punt. I'm not convinced it was the right choice, given that IS was able to come around the corner, put a shot into us, and it's more by luck than judgment that he doesn't hit us, and, well, we actually managed to slap him back ourselves. Probably by all rights, we should have lost 400 hit points there. T150 time. I mean, that's just a ridge. That's not a tank. Oh well. We're just trying to keep moving. Aiming is for the weak. We go it again, and it manages to work again. So now the IS is a one-shot. We dodge his shell, or he flubs it, however you want to think about it. And yeah, we're up to 1762 damage done. And now actually our team is managing to carve out for themselves a relatively significant hit point advantage. 1200 hit points when there's only 3000 hit points left even on the winning team. You know, you've got an extra 50% HP over the opposing team. That's not a bad position to be in, and so we push up. SU-130, I was about to say, is on low health. Now his health is even lower, and that just leaves a quartet of Tinky Tonks. There's a Scorpion over on the other side of the map, and here are some heavies, and I'm about to make a bit of a pig's ear of this. So, I managed to put a shot there into the 53 TP. Excellent. He's a two-shot, so first mistake will become apparent in a moment. I've tracked this guy, and I shouldn't have poked here. I got greedy, I went for the lower front plate, and that bounced. I am loading APCR, again going for the lower front plate, put a shot in, but he puts a shot into me. I have really badly underestimated the reload on that tank. I think actually it might be that he may not be using the top gun, because I'm pretty sure the top gun hits for 420 or something, and he was hitting me for more like 320. So I suspect he wasn't using the top gun, but all the same, that wasn't the best played engagement of my life. We put a shot into the T150, but at that point I'm too far round the corner there to pull back, and he just slaps me in the face without even aiming on the move, although at this point I've managed to get lucky enough with a lot of my shots that I can't even complain. So now we have a 53 TP versus the enemy's T150. This should be a foregone conclusion, except the enemy T150 either knows where to shoot the 53 TP or is firing APCR ammo, and our 53 TP is firing high explosive at a tank 2 tiers lower than him. And suddenly that hit point lead is down to 400. The 53 TP is a one-shot for that T150. And you sat here thinking, oh, maybe I was a little bit too aggressive earlier on. Maybe, just maybe, I should have chilled a little bit. And we haven't seen that T150 in a little while, which always makes me wonder, when you haven't seen someone in a little while, you know, are they having a bit of a cheeky flank? And we have to be careful about people having a cheeky flank, because they can catch you very much unawares with your trousers down, and no one needs that. So we're just waiting here. We're just waiting to see what happens. The problem is, all the time that they're faffing here, there's a... Ooh. Oh no! Oh no! Oh dear, well, that's a problem. So the 53 TP is getting shot from the front, as far as I can work out. And there's a T150 behind him. That shot went into the guy's tracks, but Yeah, you know that cheeky flanking I was talking about? Yeah. So this is a problem. So now the 53 TP has got shot by the Scorpion, so he's going to reverse toward the T150. Without aiming, he does actually get stupendously lucky and pull off the kill on the T150, and then the Scorpion kills him. And suddenly we have VK3002M, who just drove into a rock and a wall surface, versus a previously unspotted Scorpion. Thankfully for us, the Scorpion isn't particularly good with the whole camouflage mechanics thing, and he manages to flub it, but our VK is also kind of flubbing it. I'm trying to suggest that maybe he wants to load high explosive against the tank with literally 1mm of armour. Maybe that would be a plan that he'd want to take advantage of, but apparently not. Fine, fair enough. And, well, right. So this is a thing. We're now playing Ring a Ring of Roses around a big lump of rock. Sometimes you just look at situations and you wonder what on earth is going on. I'm trying to give this VK the best advice I can. Like, he can make the Scorpion a 2-shot if he fires HE. If he fires AP, well, the guy might die in 2 shots, but it's less of a surefire thing. Now, here's the issue. If you decide to play chasey chasey, catchy catchy, kissy kissy round a rock, it's an advantage if you have a turret. Our VK has a turret, the enemy Scorpion doesn't, and you can see our Ferdinand is recommending that the VK stays close, because generally speaking, if you're against an enemy who doesn't have a turret and is really, really sneaky, then you need to be a little bit careful, in case he, you know, runs away, gets distance, re-camos and snipes you from a distance. So what you really want to do is stay nice and close. As our friendly Ferdinand is pointing out, this isn't close. Yes, our VK is trying to win this by capping. Whilst he's getting shot at. Who is now hidden? The Scorpion, I mean. Well. So this is why I wanted to show you this game, because then the Scorpion closes the distance for some reason. And then our VK misses. And then they both miss each other at point blank range. And then the VK decides he needs to go broadside on and misses. And then the Scorpion hits the VK and it's all going to go wrong, but the VK hits the Scorpion and the VK should reload first and then misses. I don't know, I can't take the stress. Hey! Oh, someone please just end my misery. So there we go. That was a thing. Let's probably just leave that there and have a look at the results, shall we? So yeah, that was one of those games where you're just not sure how to react at the end of it, to be honest. So I am going to say a word in defence of our VK driver. I think what you were looking at was a new player driving a vehicle with a shoddy crew. So the aiming reticule was probably quite large. It took a long time to aim at the target. He's probably firing the gun before the gun's fully aimed because it takes so long to aim, and so a lot of his shots are missing. I think that's probably what we were looking at. And if that's the case, I think one thing that does highlight is the gulf that exists between a relatively new player in this game with a dodgy crew versus a more experienced player. In that situation, there was, if either the VK or the enemy Scorpion had been an experienced player, they could have wrapped that game up. That very much could have gone either way, depending upon the players in question. As it was, well, it was a thing. So, how did we do? Well, like, it was a decent game, don't get me wrong, especially as we were bottom tier. But we definitely misjudged the enemy tier 8 heavy there, and the engagement against the T150 was also not played very well. The T150 had already shown he was a competent player, he was flanking, etc, etc, and we didn't handle that particularly well. Nonetheless, as it turns out, we did enough to get the win, even if we did leave that victory very much in the lap of an incredibly fickle bunch of gods. But it was over, and we got there in the end. Ace Tanker, Fire Perfect, Bruiser, no really swanky medals or anything, but you know what, when I saw that screen, I'm like, I'll take that. You could argue I didn't deserve that win at that point, because I didn't play the end very well, but we'll take it. We actually finished top of our team, as it turned out. 2,535 damage, 2 kills, or 1,204 base experience, which is actually kind of low for an ace at tier 6 these days, which probably just goes to show people don't do very well in the M6. To be fair, the American tech tree is one of those that I think tends to attract newer players, often because they're recommended toward it, because generally speaking, American tanks tend to be pretty well-rounded, and they don't really have glaring weaknesses that people can take advantage of. They're not bad for a new player. And so that's probably... And the M6, whilst I don't think it's a bad tank, I certainly don't think it's new player friendly. So that's probably why the ace requirements are quite low on the M6. The Ferdinand on our team, who was also hanging around to try and give some advice there at the end, also had a good game. 2.8k damage from him, 5 kills, just shy of 1,000 base experience from him. On the enemy team, that was very much a case of the tier 6s pulling their weight. The KV2 and the T150 were the two players at the top of their team. Both of them managing between 1,500 and 2,000 damage, and with 2 to 3 kills each as well. And to be fair, the SU-130 PM managed 3k damage and 2 kills himself. The VK and the Scorpion at the end there, well, that was definitely a thing, but let's just, the VK got the win in the end. And he picked up the kill, and he did 734 damage. And again, remember, this is a tier 8 match, so the result isn't too shabby, even if the method of getting the result was a little bit funky. 25 shots fired from us, 16 hits, 12 penetrations, because lots of those shots we weren't fully aiming, because if we did, we'd have been slapped back far harder. For that damage count, of course. 5 hits received, 4 penetrated, 1 didn't, which is better than I was expecting. 150 damage blocked by our armour. It was only one 17-pounder shell from that AT-15 that we ended up blocking. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 6 damage, 2 destroyed, 1.84 kilometres travelled, 11,000 odd credits profit there, and a good amount of experience for that match. And there you go, ladies and gents. That was a trio of tier 6 games for you. Again, I'll let you judge which one was good, which one was bad, and which one was just plain ugly. You might be able to guess which way round I have defined them. But I'll leave that up to you to work out. I hope you guys enjoyed those games. In machines, you don't really see that much. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.